So today we're going to do a handover for the Swift Carrera 122. We'll begin at the front of the vehicle with the cab section first of all, and with the filler cap. So the filler caps aren't affected by the central locking system, and you're using the ignition key into the vehicle, turn the key clockwise and then turn the cap, and you should be able to release it and fill up. Below this is also located the AdBlue point as well. So below the passenger seat, you've got your vehicle toolkit, and then at the end of the passenger side of the dashboard, you've got your bonnet release. So with the bonnet release pulled on the inside of the vehicle, you should be able to put your hand up inside the front of the bonnet and release it. Take the bonnet stay up. Over on the left-hand side, you've got your screen wash additive. This model has electric assisted steering, so you only have a radiator water and a brake fluid, oil filler, no dipstick because it's electronically managed. And then when we come down to the front, if you ever need to jump start the vehicle, take out the ignition key. There's a blade which needs to be exposed. Connect up your positive onto there, and the negative goes onto this little bracket down here for jump starting. So when you come round onto the driver's side of the vehicle, you've got your toilet cassette and an external shower point. The external shower point, slide the cap up out of the way, just push back on the blue ring, and that removes a little drain stop, and then push your shower in. And as long as there's water pressure in there, when you squeeze the trigger, you should get your water coming out of the shower head. It's the reverse to disconnect it. Push the blue section back in, and then push your cap back on like so. With the toilet cassette, it's got a key operated system at the top, so undo the lock and then push in on both buttons simultaneously. You need to make sure that the slide is shut properly inside, and you should be able to pull up on the orange lever and then slide the whole cassette out quite neatly. On a campsite, you have collection points for these to go into, so take off the grey cap completely at the top, tip up the whole unit, press in the yellow button at the top there, and then let all the waste come out of the bottom. Before you load it back in, we always recommend for the Highlands that you use a green chemical, so you can use it in a liquid form up to a capful, or you can use sachets or the new pods. Mix that with about 2 litres of water, and then slide the cassette body back in, and you should hear it clip back into position, and you see that the handle's sat there. On the driver's side of the vehicle, about 3/4 of the way along, you've got this grey outlet just down here, and that's your wastewater outlet. It's controlled by a solenoid which has a switch above the kitchen. So when we open up this airline locker, you've got your solenoid taps just located just here. One marked fresh, one marked waste. If you push down on the switches, you'll hear the solenoid underneath, and you'll see it goes green, so that's now opening the wastewater. If you press it in the opposing direction, then it will close it for use. So for the mains connection, you pull up on the black connection on the outside. Make sure that this is at about 90 degrees. You should be able to slide the top cap in and push in to bring it down to protect it slightly. Towards the back of the vehicle, you've got your external gas barbecue point. This one's still got the fitting attached to it, but the idea being is that this is then pushed up into the brass connection. Turn the tap through 90 degrees, and that allows then gas to go through to your external appliance. For the fresh water filling, there's a small silver key which goes into the lock to open it up. Pull up on the slider and then use your hose pipe to go straight in. Below that, you've got your fresh water outlet, and this is also solenoid controlled inside the van. So for the awning, you need to push this T up into the slot at the top and then turn out. These are designed as sunshades, so in wet or windy conditions, they should be put away. Wind the awning out to a midpoint, and then you want to release the legs which are kept up inside the pelmet. They're spring loaded, so push in and draw each leg down. There's a release bar, and then push up on it, and that then enables the leg to hold in position. Do the same with the other leg. Draw it down. When they're new, they do require an excess amount of pressure to bring them up, but they should lock into position. And then continue winding the awning out. Because it's raining today, we'll keep it at this midpoint. When you want to retract it, You need to fold these back in and then spring load the legs back into the front of the pelmet. And then you can wind the awning back in. On the entrance to the vehicle, you've got an electric step. Push down on the button and that should allow the step to go in. Push up and it should allow to go the step back in. So there's a drop down table on the kitchen wall. Just pull it down like so. You'll need to fold it back up if you want to use the flow screen. So 2 hands, top and bottom, and draw the flow screen across the inside. Make sure it's fully retracted, so that when you open and close the sliding door, it doesn't damage the screen. So when you first come into the vehicle, above the sliding door, you've got a 12-volt control panel. Press the center switch and that activates your 12-volt systems in the vehicle. Briefly, all of the lights flash up and it will give you a status as to the condition of your leisure battery. We're currently plugged into the mains, so you'll see that symbol come on there, and then also it's indicating that we're using the leisure battery. You can change over and use the vehicle battery as an emergency resource. You'll see then that you'll see an amber light come on in the front cab position, and you'll see the amount of available energy to you on that side. There's a master switch for the main lights, and then you've got your level indicators, and it will give you condition of your batteries for your fresh water and wastewater. For activating the pump, you will need to have that one on. There's no water in the system, so that's why it's bleeping at the moment. And then you have this one as your tank heater switch just down there. So if you're using the fan in cold weather, it's protecting the water system from freezing. Turn the control panel off, press and hold the center button for a couple of seconds, and you'll see then that the panel fades away. There's a separate switch up at the top of the display for the awning light. When you press on there, you'll see a green light come on, and you have your awning light on the outside. When you go underneath the bench, you've got a 12-volt control panel from Sargent. To activate the panel, you'll need to press down onto that button there, and that will enable you then to operate the panel above the door. Located on this side, you've got your 12-volt fuses for the interior operation. There's a menu guide on the inside of the board to tell you what each fuse does. If the fuses fail, then you'll see a red light come on to that adjacent fuse. On the opposite side, you've got your mains RCD points. At the moment, these are all switched on, but typically you would start with everything switched off. You turn on the power by bringing the switch towards the bathroom. You can do a test to carry out to make sure that the supply that's coming in is safe for you to use, and then come across on the residual switches. And that brings the rest of the 240-volt supply in. From there on, you can activate your battery charger, which will mean you'll get a trickle charge going into your battery. And if you're wanting to use the water heating, room heating system, you'll need to press 2 switches. First of all, the amber switch down there, and then the white switch at the front of the unit. This Swift is fitted with a whale water heater. It's important for winter storage that you know where the drain valve is located. So lift up the cushion, lift up the mechanism for the bed, pop open the drop down panel, pull open the drawer, and then down on the floor you've got this yellow tab. In the position that it's at the moment, it's allowing the water heater to be filled. If you rotate it through 90 degrees, it will allow the water heater to be drained out for winter storage. Close it back over and you can reprime the water system. So at the back of the vehicle, this is where your gas bottles would be located. With the withdrawal of the 3.9s and the 4.5 cylinders, you're going to probably have to use camping gas cylinders, which will mean you need to be connected up to the regulator when they're installed. Underneath the adjacent bed box, you've got your isolator taps for your individual appliances. So at the moment, these are all in the vertical position and they're feeding into the cooker, the water heater and the room heating system. If you needed to isolate it, for example, for servicing, then you can switch off that gas tap to that particular appliance. So the water heater and room heating systems are gesture controlled. If you pass your hand over the top, you will see an indicator light come on, and you can press in on the plus button and you can take the water heating up to a 40 or up to a 60-degree setting. Mains operation, when you press in on this, you'll see a selection of blue buttons appear, and with the blue buttons on, it means that it's beginning the powering process. When it switches to the amber, then it means it's actually engaged the unit. If only one of the buttons is illuminated, then it's using it as a 1000, a 2000 or a 3000 watt heater, and it's obviously dependent on the amount of amperage that's available to you from campsite. For the gas operation, you can choose to use it in conjunction with the electric, and again you'll see the blue light come on behind the flame indicating that it's engaged, and then when it powers up it'll go to an amber light. Control it by deselecting and turning off like so. If there's a fault with the unit, you sometimes will see a little red exclamation mark come up on the left hand side. Press and hold on that for a couple of seconds, and that should clear that exclamation mark and reset the heater and enable you to reuse it. When you don't want to use it anymore, turn it down and let the unit go off. So the room heating system is also gesture controlled. Wave your hand over the front of it. To increase the temperature, you can take it through on these cycles all the way up to a maximum setting. For the mains operation, when you push in onto it, you can increase the amount of mains output. So the moment we've got it on the 2 kilowatt setting, press the button again, it'll go up onto the 3 kilowatt setting. And again, if it's engaging the heating system, then you'll see that amber light come on just like so, and you'll actually hear the fan starting to resonate and pick up in the back of the van. For the gas operation, you can deselect the mains and use it on the gas mode. When it finds the gas supply and engages it, you'll see that flame go to an amber symbol. We'll get back onto the mains for a second. Take the temperature right down. You can leave it in a nighttime mode, or if you're leaving the vehicle unattended, you can leave it in a frost protection mode, and it will just keep a gentle background heat within the vehicle. Again, if there's faults that occur, you might see an exclamation mark come on. Hold it on for a couple of seconds, and that should clear that exclamation mark down. Turn the system off, make sure that there's no illumination, and eventually you'll see that amber light fade out, and that's the system switched off. Carrera 122s come with a 12-volt fridge which has a double door on it. So you can be opened to this direction, or it can be opened in that direction. We'll turn our attention to the 12-volt fridge. Press and hold in on this button for a couple of seconds, and you will see the Dometic symbol illuminate. Very simple and straightforward to operate. You have a thermostat control, so press and hold on it for a couple of seconds, and you'll see that that thermostat control comes into play, and you can increase or decrease the thermostatic position. If we highlight onto the battery mode, we can then go into that user mode, and then from there we can put it into performance mode, so when we're first starting up the appliance. If you're sleeping in the van overnight, you can put it into a quiet mode, or if you want to just increase the temperature within the fridge or decrease the temperature within the fridge, you can put it into the boost mode. To turn the appliance off, hold in on for a couple of seconds, and you hear it bleep, and that will turn off the appliance. So you have a Thetford toilet on a Carrera, which is a swivel bolt function, so the seat can come up for use, and you pull across the lever to open up the slider. Let your waste go straight through. To flush the toilet, push in on the blue button. The water pump will need to be on, and you should get a jet of water coming around the inside of the bowl. When the cassette is approaching full, you'll get an indicator light at the back on the display as well. Close the lever over for the cassette to be withdrawn. So for the making up of the beds, you will need to remove all of the cushions and out of the way. On the front of the pelmet, you've got two little clips which need to be released. One at the front of the vehicle and one at the back. So unfold the frame, pull out on the slats squarely, and then you should be able to drop the frame then down onto the corresponding hook position. These go back in for the mattresses to sit on. In that downward position, they take away the contour of the mattress, and then you should be able to drop each mattress into position. And then use your backrest mattresses to go into the middle. Like so. And there you have your double bed. You've got cab lines on the doors. Pull back on these sliders and extend the section all the way up. For the operation of the front blind, use two hands and draw the unit all the way up to the top, like so. So for the cab controls, ignition on. This has a digital dash on it. So on the left hand stalk, you have got your indicator controls, and then you use the outer part of the bezel to turn on your dipped headlights, and then push away for main beam. The right hand stalk has got your wiper controls, so you can go up for a flick wipe, or if you turn the outer bezel, you can set it to intermittent, a low and a high setting for speed, and then back for your screen if required. You've got electric mirror controls and electric window controls over on the driver's door. On the steering wheel, these are related to your infotainment systems that are both on the central dash as well as on the radio unit. There are two buttons on my fingers, one for changing radio stations and one for increasing and decreasing the volume control. Central dials will give you your speed of fan as well as your temperature, and then you have the ability of using the airflow from outside or recirculating internally, and then changing the direction or position of the fans within the controls. On the bottom dials, your hazard light switch, your heated mirror switch, central locking and ASR indicators, and then you have the ability to turn the stereo on and off from that central button, as well as working it as a volume control for the passenger. So that was the handover for the Carrera 122. Sincerely hope that you're going to get lots of miles and lots of smiles. But from here, us at Highland Camper Vans, thank you very much for watching.